Now, Democrats will pretend they're not, but they are coming for your guns. Just today, the House passed 2 gun control bills that will ultimately make it harder for Americans to buy and sell firearms, which, of course, for the left, is a huge cause for celebration.
A universal background check. It is desperately needed.
We need a federal solution. Guns don't respect state borders.
Nothing in the Second Amendment suggests that we cannot regulate and provide safety for the American people.
I'd like her to say that to my next guest. April Evans is a mother, a gun owner, and a proud NRA member. Exactly 6 years ago today, she was sleeping quietly with her daughter when an invader entered her house. April, what happened next?
Well, we were just, going about our night. My husband is a police officer, and he works night shifts. He was gone for work, and I heard banging on the door. So I went to see, maybe my neighbor needed help. I wasn't sure, so I looked through the peephole, and I didn't recognize him. And that was when I noticed that the door was starting to crack, and I knew he was coming in the house. So I had a plan in place, and my plan was to call 911 and go get our gun from the bedroom. While I was getting the gun in the bedroom, I heard a crash, and I thought, did I lock the door to the kitchen that goes to the garage? Because it sounded like he came into the garage. By the time I got to the middle of the end of the hallway, he was standing there looking at me, and then he just started running towards me. So I fired. He still kept coming, so I fired again. And that time he hit the ground, and I held him there at gunpoint until the police arrived.
Wow. Well, thank goodness you're okay and that your daughter is okay, and that you're a responsible, smart, and prepared and practiced gun owner. Nancy Pelosi, though, she wants to confiscate your guns for the children.
Most important issues facing the Congress are our children, our children, our children. An environment in which they can thrive safely is what we are talking about today. There is nobody in Congress whose political survival is more important than the survival of our children.
April, your reaction to those impassioned words?
My child wouldn't be alive today, I firmly believe, if I had not had my gun to protect us. And she's been around guns her whole life. She knows about gun safety. We taught her from a very early age. She knows about it. We always explained it to her, showed it to her. She's not in any danger. She knows what a gun is. She knows what a gun can do, and she knows to stay away from it. And if she has questions, she finds an adult and asks the questions. It's all about training in order to keep a safe environment. Taking guns away from someone like myself, who my husband works night shift, and it's just me and her alone, how does that keep anybody safe? We both would have been dead, I'm sure.
April, thank you for sharing that story tonight. Unfortunately, too many people in the United States don't hear those stories. They hear only the awful stories. Thank you.
Right.
And while House Democrats work tirelessly to keep American citizens from buying guns, it's open season for illegals who want to lock and load. Today, Pelosi and pals rejected an amendment that would require ICE to be notified if an illegal tries to buy a gun. Joining me now is House Minority Whip Steve Scalise. Congressman, this seems like just a bad dream, all of it, but they don't seem to be concerned about guns falling into the hands of certain wrong people.
Yeah, good to be with you, Laura. I wish it was a bad dream. And this is just one more step in Nancy Pelosi's socialist agenda that she's pushing through the House with the complicity of all of the House Democrats who continue to vote to take away more of our rights. Today, they went after our gun rights with the bill to make it harder for law-abiding citizens to get guns. As your last guest mentions, every day in America, people use guns to save the lives of themselves and their families. And yet this bill would make it much harder. In fact, right now, there's a 3-day waiting period. This could make it open-ended. There could be no limit to how many days unelected bureaucrats held up your application to get a gun if you're an American citizen. However, we had the amendment, as you mentioned, that said if someone's here illegally and they try to buy a gun illegally, that name should be turned over to ICE. Well, guess what? The Democrats voted against that. So they think it's okay for someone illegally in America to get a gun, but they don't want you to be able to get a gun. They are going after our rights left and right in Washington.
Congressman, this issue of banning private sales between individuals, or making it very difficult banning, people have to understand why they're doing that. To enforce a ban on private sales, what would you need? You would need, ultimately, a national firearms registry, correct?
Oh, they would love to get a registry of where all the guns are. We saw in New Orleans after Katrina, people went door to door. Law enforcement went door to door taking people's guns after Katrina. I watched it happen. We passed a bill to prevent it from happening again. But this idea that you should have a registry, that you should be able to prevent someone you don't like from buying a gun at all, unless you're illegal. That's what they passed today. That's not where America is. We believe in our Second Amendment. We're going to fight to preserve those Second Amendment rights.
Well, this is where states' attorneys general better get cracking real quick and have that legislation ready to fight against any of this. Congressman, thank you so much. And